Witnesses describing the terrifying moments that train barreled into the station in Hoboken, New Jersey. Here's video shot by our next guest only minutes after the disaster struck. Joining us now by phone, Monica Nolasco. Monica, I got to ask you, as you made your way out of the train and started to see the pictures that we're seeing and the damage that was there, did it dawn on you right away how serious this accident had been? Was there a moment of shock? I mean, what was it like in the minutes after?
Yeah, great question. I mean, as soon as I stepped right off the train and onto the platform, I looked around and I thought everything was fine, just like any other day. Once I turned towards the front of the car, I realized everything was not okay. The car was totally just veered off the platform and almost into the ceiling. The ceiling had collapsed. There were beams sticking out. Pipes had bursted and water was pouring out. As I walked close to the front of the train, I noticed people passing me who were injured and bleeding. And that's when it kind of really settled in that this was pretty traumatic. I was in a state of shock for most of the time that I was in the train station, kind of walking around in a daze, walking through people who were bleeding and injured. And now looking back at the photos, I mean, that's exactly what it looks like, but it still looks like it was out of a movie. Like it was like a scene unfolding in front of me.
And I understand you were in the last car, which would have taken the least of the impact, obviously.
Yes.
And the first car, it sounds like, was actually at a 45-degree angle, that it actually had gone upward, hit the ceiling, caused that the trouble there with the structural damage. So from the impact that you had, first of all, did you feel any slowing down at all? And when you did have the impact, did it seem to you, you'd come to an abrupt stop, but you didn't realize just how incredible the impact had really been until you saw it for yourself?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, I saw us pulling to the station. The first thing I was doing was, picking up my bag, getting up to stand up, and then the next thing I know, I'm being kind of thrown forward to the seat in front of me by a really abrupt stop. I wasn't injured at all, but there was a gentleman next to me who was standing in the aisle, and he just totally toppled over, kind of face planted to the ground, and people were kind of falling forward if they were in the aisle. But luckily for me, I wasn't hurt at all.
What kind of injuries did you see once you started to make your way out of the station?
So the first gentleman that I saw, he was kind of cradling his hands. They were very bloody. And as I kept walking out to the street, I noticed a woman passing me who had a broken nose, almost a busted face. And once I was outside, it was a lot worse. There were people sitting down on the ground. There were cuts to their heads. There were paramedics trying to help them out. And one of the worst things that I saw was a much older gentleman being kind of hoisted into an ambulance, and he had a really deep cut right above his eye. He was just gushing blood all over his face. It almost blinded him, it seemed like. And he was also in a daze. It didn't seem like he was crying or screaming or anything. He was just kind of sitting there bleeding.
And Monica, from what we've heard and what we've seen, there were first responders very quickly on the scene. It sounds like a lot of the passengers helped each other as well. What was your experience?
Yeah, so first thing I was thinking of once I was off the train was, beyond wow, this just happened, was what am I supposed to be doing? I felt like I should be helping as well. I mean, I saw train workers and conductors pulling people out of the window of the first car. Most of us were kind of being pushed back. I think once we were outside, people were helping one another, kind of pressing down on their wounds or sitting with them or holding their hand, which is really kind of inspiring to see that we can come together at like a traumatic moment like that.
Yeah, it is great to see when tragedies like this bring out the best. Monica Nolasco, we thank you for sharing your video and your story with us, and we're so glad that you are safe and sound.
Thank you.